This video is showing Portuguese stem done for left-handed stitchers. Here's an example of a little branch made out of Portuguese stem that the little bird is standing on, and the veins of this maple leaf are made out of Portuguese stem. And it's just a nice chunkier stem stitch. It creates a great texture. It's important for left-handed stitchers to understand that this is made up of stem stitch that then has two wraps. And you can't just do a mirror image of a right-handed person doing stem stitch because the thread has an S twist. And if you stitch it the opposite, or just the mirror image of a right-handed person, you'll untwist your thread as you've been going along. So if you've had trouble with that in the past, that's why. Now I've drawn a line. You can do a straight or curved line. I've come up with, I have a thread that's knotted on the back, brought my needle and thread up from the back. Now notice that I am working with my working thread right now for the stem stitch portion of this stitch. This is important to keep my working thread above my line. I'm going to take a stitch similarly to how we begin our stem stitch, but I'm only going halfway back. So I'm stitching left to right, and instead of coming right back out in this same hole, for my first starter stitch, I'm just going halfway back, and we'll see why in a second. I use my right hand to hold the stitch in place so that I can pull it through. Now I like to keep my thread up above the line, below the line, so that I can do the wrap portion of it. But I'm still bringing my needle from above the line underneath. I just have the thread down here to keep it out of my way. So now I'm doing my first wrap, and notice it is off to the right of where that thread is. I'm just wrapping under this piece of thread that I laid down. I'm not going through the fabric. And again, I'm coming down a little bit further to the right so that I'm doing a second wrap. If you wanted, you could even do a third wrap. I'm doing this with a little bit of a bigger stitch so you can see the construction of it. You can imagine that if you have shorter stitches that you're wrapping, you'll see more knot and less stitch, if that makes sense. So there's the first one. Now remember, since we're doing a stem stitch, we have to make sure we get this above the line. So we did the stem and the wraps. Now we're doing another stem. This stem, I get to come all the way back to where the hole is that I created with the last stitch. So now, from now on, all the other stitches will be like this. Now you'll notice as I stitch along, see how I have two pieces of thread? It almost looks as if I'm making a chain stitch or something here. And that you're always going to get that phenomenon as you're stitching this. So which of these two do you wrap? You wrap both of them from now on. So I'm coming down top to bottom to the right of my thread. I do a second one top to bottom a little bit further to the right. And you can see how it's nice to use the thumb of your offhand to control this. And see, now that's creating these little chunky wraps. Now we're doing the stem stitch part of it again. So get the thread up here above the line. Do another stitch all the way back to where that stitch ended. Pull it through. Here are my two threads. I'm going to wrap both of them. One, and then the other one. Really, the trick with this stitch is just keeping out of your own way, keeping track of which part am I doing. I just did the wrap part. Now I have to make the thread go back up to the top so that I can get it in the correct position for the stem stitch. And it doesn't take long before you start to see this really nice texture develop. We just love the way this makes it. They're kind of like loose little knots. I think Sue Spargo calls this Portuguese knotted stem stitch. And if that doesn't start wrapping and it seems as if it wants to wrap in the wrong spot, just do what I did just there, is just make it go on the correct side. Now, when you want to end this stitch, let's say I had come to the end of my line, I don't want to just end it right here because, you see, I would have the little funny gaps between those two threads. So I always want to end it after I've done a wrap and then do another wrap. And now, instead of starting another stem stitch or anything, I like to take it and sink it down right here to secure my wraps.